Hi, my name is Don Stott. I am a father who experienced estrangement from one of my adult children firsthand. Welcome to Beyond the Pain, a place where parents of estranged adult children can find peace and healing. My goal is to have this brought out of the shadows and to stop being ashamed. Now, today's episode might be difficult for some to hear. It will be dealing with some very important and sensitive subject matter, namely suicide. So please be aware if this might be too sensitive for you, you might consider that before proceeding in today's episode. Now, also remember, I am not a therapist or a doctor. I am just another guy who has been through this and wants to help you to live beyond this pain our children have caused us. So if you need mental help coping or have any thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else, please seek professional help. So on today's show, I have a guest with me from Australia. Her name is Kathy. She's going to tell us her story, and hopefully you guys will get some benefit out of that, as I know that most of us have with some of these other individuals who've told their story. So this is Kathy. How are you today, Kathy?
I'm good.
Cool. And like you said, it's like 3:00 in the morning there, something like that.
Yeah, I don't sleep.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a night owl. I'll probably sleep in tomorrow.
I hear you. Well, and I mean, with all the other stuff that we're going through with the kids and stuff, I'm sure that doesn't help.
No, it
So,
does not.
well, I appreciate you coming on the channel and sharing your story. I do feel like, as I've said on the podcast before, that I do feel like that hearing more than just me ramble on, I have my thoughts and all that and my versions, but hearing other people and how they've been able to live beyond this, I
Yeah.
think really helps a lot of people.
Well,
So
listening to the podcast has helped me so much. So I really wanted to share my story because it's like reconnecting doesn't mean it's the end of the drama,
no,
really.
for sure. And in some cases it just causes more drama.
Yeah.
So just a different kind of drama. So I'm sure we'll touch on, mine too, as we're
Yeah.
talking. But so if you don't mind, how about you start out telling us just a little bit about yourself, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yes. I'm 48. I have two children. Um, I'm in the legal field. I had my first child at 25, which is my daughter, and my second child at 29. I was a stay-at-home mum for that entire time. I gave up my career and I had a couple of failed marriages, but very close to my daughter. She was my best mate, 22 years of just fun and laughter, and she was my best mate. Like,
Wow.
I didn't need anything else. I had her. I
Yeah,
had my son, but I wasn't as close to him, I suppose.
sure.
Um, mm,
I think that's probably relatively normal, mothers and daughters and fathers and
yes,
sons, kind of thing.
yeah,
So, and I'm assuming your daughter is the one that is estranged
yes,
from you.
yes.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
yeah, so we were just best mates. Um, I probably more friend as she got older. I helped her through her breakups. She left and went to another state, and I came and got her when it all fell apart. And then she got pregnant to a married older man, and she had her baby. And then I moved so she could be next to me in a granny flat, so I could help her when it all fell apart. And she had a beautiful granddaughter that I was there at the birth. And then she met this guy, and just one day, up and left, didn't speak to me
hmm.
for a year.
There's been so many, well, as you've probably heard other people say, there's been so many of that kind of thing that happens. It either you know, new
A
girlfriend,
third party.
boyfriend, or yeah,
Yeah.
some third party something that it just it's now you kind of touched on home life. You were there for her. You guys were really close, you know.
Really close. Like everyone was jealous of our relationship. We were best mates.
Yeah. Okay.
It was perfect. I didn't need a man. I had shitty relationships, but I didn't care.
Right.
I had her, you know.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
I know, my son and I, we were not like close growing up, but when he got older and was married for the second time, was married and he was happy, he became a different person and he was good. We were good for a
Mm,
while,
mm,
and
mm.
more than we had ever been. So it was very shocking to say the
Mm.
least. So now
Oh,
had you heard of like estrangement before you
no,
experienced it?
no.
Me either. Me either.
Never even thought of it.
I mean,
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. I don't know anyone else that it's happened to,
right?
like in my circle.
Yeah. I don't
Mm,
know that I know. Well, thinking back on it, in my family, a- after it's happened, I think one of my episodes was talking about that, but thinking
mm,
back on it, I realized there was some in the family, even with my father, which I
mm.
never thought about at the time. He was not there.
Mm.
And I don't know what all that transpired, but so you know, you don't have a clue. It's not something that's
No.
talked about, and I
And
don't
then
know.
you think it's just going to be like a little thing, you know, like,
Absolutely.
hey, sweetie, come back. Your bathroom's done.
Right.
You know, I bought a house and like I did up her granny flat so she could be there and I could help her because I knew that the first father wouldn't be
Right.
like part of. Oh, come on, you know, come back, and then you go a month, and you go, okay, sweetie, you know, are you okay? Nothing. And then it gets to 3 months, and then it gets to 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God. And then she had another little girl, and she didn't even contact me.
Oh,
And
that's the
my mum,
worst.
my mum, during that, was still contacting her and bought her a house.
Oh my goodness.
Um, because the boy she was with were a bit questionable on, and he was going to take her away, like to where we wouldn't have known where she was. And so mum bought her a house so she'd have that. But still, it was very shocking for me.
Yeah. Wow.
And everyone was still seeing her, my son and my ex, and everyone's acting like there's nothing wrong. And I'm like dying.
So you literally have the feeling it's got to be just you in the world going through
Yes.
this.
And she
Wow.
didn't even discuss it. She never told me why.
Wow. That's just
Yeah.
it it's sad in so many ways, not just for us, but even for them when they don't realize it. It's sad for them because
But that's what I wanted to express to you. This we have made contact again only because I pretty much threatened my mum if she continued contact with her, I'd cut her off.
yeah.
And my mum actually made the choice. And then I thought I can't take her great grandchildren away from her, so I made peace. So I made peace with her. But even when you make peace with them, and I got to see my granddaughter that I was there for her birth, it's this isn't it's still not right.
No.
It's it's still hell, I'll be honest. It's still hell because I'm still dealing with this absolute roller coaster of emotion. Um, it's just hell. It's
It
hell. I
it It really is. I was talking to a lady the other day. She's gonna, I think Tuesday. I'm speaking to her. We're gonna do an interview, but we just kind of
Mm.
talked a little bit on the phone, and very very similar situation. Uh, and they've, her child, I think it's her son, um, contacted her again, but he had all kinds of demands and he
Mm.
didn't want to talk about anything that had happened.
That's what kills me.
And
I
I'm
wrote
like,
her a
how
letter
can
and I
you?
expected it. You can't move forward.
No, I
Well,
mean,
I
at
can't.
least something, be open to something,
Yeah,
you
tell me what
know,
I've done wrong.
right? How
I
can
can handle
you,
it.
right? How can you, as just a human being, forget your parent, child parent thing? How can you, as a human being, if
That
you've
is
done
it.
something, correct it so it doesn't happen?
And
Otherwise,
again,
it's you gotta think, at least the way I think about it, it's not really us, or at least not totally.
yeah.
So otherwise, they'd be willing to, have a
Yeah, we'll
some
stand up
sort
and
of
say, Mom,
conversation.
you did this and you did that. And I'd be like, okay, well, I
Right.
did, but I did the best job I could. No, there's nothing. I
It's
wrote her a long
crazy.
letter. I said, are you going to write back? She said, no, I don't want to get into it. It's like, you've nearly killed me during the year, but yeah, you don't want to get into it. Okay, no worries.
I, I think, um, yeah, but with the technology, I think they don't know how to have a conversation. You
She
know,
doesn't have any life-like friends. She's only got internet friends.
yeah,
I don't think she's met any of them.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's going to be tough for her at some point. But what do you? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do, obviously. So,
Uh,
um, well, obviously, we already know you don't really have a clue what happened. I mean, do was she now? You said you had some bad relationships. Was she coming through those, or was she a product of with some of those?
no, she wouldn't have known her, like, oh, that's another thing. Her actual, oh, I call him the sperm donor because he
Uh
wasn't
huh.
there, um, had nothing to do with her. And then, of course, she went and searched him out at 13, which I was expecting because I'd heard about that. And
Sure.
he he's a big drug addict and he lasted 6 months lying to her. But he got to see her new baby first. Like, she's trying to do everything to hurt me. And he was a complete pig.
Yeah.
And then the other man that I was married to, my son's father, which she called dad, really had nothing to do with her. He was like an absent father. Um, but yeah, she was like contacting him as well, which is fine.
Right. But it makes you wonder because you've heard so many of these. I mean, at least for me, before estrangement, so many of these. My dad murdered my mother. He's in jail,
Mm, but he's
and I'm
okay.
still going to visit him.
That is
And
it.
but you made her mad when she was a teenager, or whatever the case,
Yeah,
and
God
she can't get
knows.
over that.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Oh, look, yeah, it's just surprising that that it happens like that because they can't get over that little whatever it was you did and not even tell
That they
you.
can't tell you about.
Yeah. I mean, with my son, I think, you probably heard mine, but it
Mm,
was just something that I had no idea even happened. He assumed
mm,
something and, I'm like, but that's not the way it happened. I mean, that's not
yeah.
what I remember happening. And, if I did that, okay, I'm sorry, but I didn't know. So what
Yeah.
could I do? Just,
How can we fix something or apologize for? I know that's one thing you sort of deal with guilt. Oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
Well, I know I was an at-home mum, so I know I was always there. And then you backtrack, and then I had to make my peace with, no, I was a bloody good mum.
Yeah.
Full stop, end of sentence. So
Yeah.
whatever she has to throw at me, yeah, that doesn't matter anymore to me.
Right.
What it is, it doesn't matter.
I've always maintained, and I'm sure this is probably repeating things that I've said on the podcast, but I've always maintained that as long as you weren't physically, sexually,
Abusive.
or
Yep.
really emotionally, which can be maybe some gray area, but emotionally abusive to them,
Yeah.
there is no reason for that. I just,
No, I even thought, like, I watched this Oprah. It's funny to bring this up, but I watched this Oprah episode, and the grandparents had actually accidentally ran over their grandchild and killed them.
oh my gosh.
And the daughter sat there and said, "No, don't blame yourself." And that's what I thought. I wouldn't even expect this if I ran over my grandchild and killed them.
Right.
You know, like, that's a terrible thing to happen, but I wouldn't expect this kind of treatment even then, let
Right.
alone nothing happening.
It's just, it still befuddles me
Yeah,
again. So
yeah.
I just don't understand them, but it seems to
But
be a
your
generation
podcast is
thing.
has been amazing because there's not much out there about it.
There
See,
really wasn't. I saw a couple. There was one by a doctor or a psychologist or something, but there really was
mm,
nothing from our perspective that I could
no
find.
way.
So
And the thing is, if your children die, then you get to mourn them, and everyone
right,
says, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and you've got more, there's nothing. How do you mourn them? I don't even know. You're kind of mourning them, but you're not.
right. You don't get that closure. I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to say, and it sounds terrible to say, but I know you'll understand. It's almost not better, wouldn't be the right word, but you'd get
No,
closure if
it'd be
they
better if
died,
they're dead.
you
Yes,
know?
I've always
So
said that.
it's just, I just don't understand. There's no
And see, it'd
words.
be better if they're dead because I could actually think of the past as happy times.
Right,
Now I'm wondering about the past, as in, was it all fake? Was the happy
right.
times? You know what I mean? You just second guess everything, and
Of course,
it can drive you
everything.
crazy.
It surely can. Well, you're definitely not crazy. Well, at least not because of that. I don't know you that well, but you know what I
Oh,
mean.
I am crazy.
Good. I'm in good company. So, but yeah, it's just I just don't, and I say it all the time, but I just don't understand it. So, um, so in doing this, have you had to seek out any professional help, if you don't mind my
I'm
asking?
going to be honest with you,
Hmm.
and I feel this might help other people. I've suffered very badly with depression. I'm going into a psychiatric ward tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Um, I tried to take my life a week ago.
Oh, goodness.
I just, I can't see any way through it to live
Yeah.
like this. And it makes me so sad. It's like my whole life came to this, and
Yeah.
but I'm getting the help.
That's the
But I did
important
want to
thing.
share that.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Well,
I'm
it's
sorry,
it's
I threw that on you.
no, that's okay. That's okay. Like I said,
I
it's
just feel
it's
sharing this can sometimes help people that may feel the same way.
yeah. And the key
Yeah,
for you, I think anyway, in the little bit that I know, is that you are getting that help.
yeah.
You're choosing to get that help. Yes, you had a
Mainly my parents are making me.
well, you're not running away screaming. How about that?
No, that's
So,
true.
you know, um,
Yeah,
I don't think that would be an easy thing to just, okay, I'm going to get up and go do this. So
Yeah.
I'm sure a little prompting is probably necessary from
Yeah.
them and your husband, I'm sure. So, but
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I definitely hope that you you get some clarity and that you get some help for that, because
Thank
you are
you.
not alone. You are not crazy. You know,
Mm.
it's a terrible thing that they've done, and they just don't
Mm.
have any idea what they're putting you and these other parents are going through. They just
Yeah.
don't have a
Yeah. I think
clue.
it's the cruelest thing you could do.
It is
Really.
absolutely, I think so. So
Mm.
um, well,
But thank you. I
that's
wanted to share my story. Just it might help somebody if they're feeling
I
that
think it
they can't
will,
get there.
because you don't know where someone else is in their, recovery, for
Journey.
lack of a better,
Yeah.
their journey. You don't know where they're at. I mean, I was pretty low at times for that first year or so. I mean, I could
Mm.
have not been here and I would have been okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not me at all.
Yeah.
I've not been When I was a teenager, I suffered with some depression, but
Mm.
nothing like that. And this was just awful. It was just
Mm.
awful. So, um,
Mm.
well, do you have any advice that you would give people, obviously, besides, getting help?
Oh, um, see, I chased her more than I would ever do that with anyone, and
Yeah,
I kind of regret that.
I
And
did
I
it too.
apologized for things that I didn't think I did, which I kind of regret that too. I don't even know what advice.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Well, I think just
Um,
that right there, letting people know that, you're going to feel those things. You're going to feel like you have to get them to answer you. You have to nail them down,
mm,
and just knowing that it may not be possible. I mean, if they're going to this extreme of cutting you off, it doesn't really matter what you say. I don't think. At least that's
yeah,
been my experience.
I think I just wanted to share that you want something so bad, and
Yeah,
then when I got it back, I didn't want it anymore. And that's sort of sometimes we want something so bad,
sure.
but
Well, and that
like,
probably pushed you over the edge, I'm sure.
yeah, because I
I'm
got it back and went, well, this is just a
what?
whole new set of problems.
Right, right. Wow.
Mm, mm,
Um, so obviously we've already talked about the fact that your family, most of your other family was still involved with her the whole
mm,
time. That
mm.
had to be, with my situation, everybody pretty much was cut off. He wouldn't talk to
Uh,
anybody. So
yeah.
um so at least, not that that was good, but I asked him not to do that. I asked him, please, don't let what we're going through become between you and your sisters, at least.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well, I
want
said
that
that to
to
my
happen.
son. I said, still have a relationship with her. I don't
Right,
see it as disloyalty, you know.
right. But it, happened anyway.
Mm,
Um, so might be might be a little challenging, but this is if well, I guess it doesn't really apply. I was going to ask, if they were listening, what would you say? But you've talked and you've written their letters, and it means,
yeah.
you know,
She didn't write back.
doesn't mean much apparently. So, and I'm
Yeah.
so sorry for that.
Mm,
Um, so I I've not been in your shoes, obviously, quite, but
mm.
is there anything that maybe came out of this, that either for you yourself or for you and your husband now, or anything that you can think of that how
It's a
made
positive.
any kind of positive out of it? I'm
You know
sorry to
what?
ask that. I don't know if that's
No, I realized, you know what? If you would have said to me a year ago this would happen, I would have bet my house on it that it didn't
Oh,
happen.
me too.
I would have said, "Oh, you've got to be joking." The one sure thing in my life is that. So it's made me realize that life can change, and to never. It's made me know I'm very strong.
Well, that's good. That is good. I
Yeah.
mean, it might not seem that way sometimes that's good, but it is. And
Mm,
you're going to be going through some stuff here in the next little bit, so
mm,
and that'll be important. So
mm,
um I would appreciate once you're feeling better, just shoot
mm.
me a message, shoot me an
I
email. I'd
will.
like to see how you're doing.
Yeah. Thank
Um
you.
and if you have you know any other final thoughts we could share, or
Mm,
and then even when you're done, when you're on your road to recovery and you're feeling much better,
mm.
if you want to revisit and come on then too, that would be great,
Yeah,
if
definitely.
you're good with
Definitely.
that. So, but do you have
Yeah,
any
I'd love
final
that.
thoughts about everything?
Just keep me chin up,
That's all you
everyone.
can do. I mean, it's a terrible thing for any of us to be going through,
Mm,
and I I am truly sorry that you are experiencing it,
mm.
and that
Yeah,
any
me
of us
too.
are. And
Everyone.
everyone, it's
And I
so.
hope.
I've got people. You're in Australia, obviously. I'm in Florida in the U.S.
Mm,
I've got people all over the world that have listened to the podcast, because I can see
mm,
the in the analytics, and it just one of the stories I told somebody the other day, the music that's on my podcast. When you set up something like a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever, if you don't create the music, you need to get their
get
permission
permission.
to use it.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Mm,
I looked through a bunch of stuff that was, a bunch of music when I was starting, and I really, really I like um, guitar and piano,
mm.
music anyway. And I really, really liked that. It just really seemed to fit. And so I'm like, okay, well, I had already done a couple of episodes, and I'm like, okay, let me email this guy. I found his email address on the YouTube channel, which is where I first found the music. And I emailed him and I explained, I'm doing this podcast. It's about estranged children, blah, 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 blah. And I would really appreciate if you don't mind me being able to use your music, at least until, I get, if I choose to monetize the podcast at some point, then I can make money, and then I can, give him royalty or whatever.
Yeah.
When he emailed me back, he said, it just happens that my son and I had been estranged for a number of years. I'm like,
Wow.
seriously, how random
Wow.
is that? And he gave his full blessing, to
Yeah.
continue to use it. And I'm like, what a small world, and he's from like
Oh, that's
Germany, I think.
and
So,
that's yeah, that's a universe thing, I think.
isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, the
Yeah.
one song that just spoke to me was from someone
Yeah.
who had been through that. And they were good
And he
now, but it's
yeah, but
just
he probably
crazy.
hadn't spoken about it either.
Yeah.
So,
So, anyway,
mm.
well, Kathy, please take care of yourself.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
and you
And
you
I'm
are
so happy that I shared my story with you.
I am too, and I think it'll really help people. You Like I said, you just never know where somebody else is at and at what moment
Yeah.
your words might mean something to them, because
Yeah.
I
That
started
they're not
this
alone.
just wanted to help a few people, and
Yeah.
it's blown up into something really
Oh,
wonderful.
it's
So
helped me.
good,
It's
good.
helped me so much.
Well, very good.
Thank
Well,
you.
you're welcome, and I hope everything goes well.
Yeah.
Do what you need
And
to
I will
do for
be in
you.
contact.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
talk to
you.
you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.